Hello, and welcome to the Frivolous and Frugal Knitting Podcast. We are two sisters who share our fondness for knitting, the things that we create, and the knitting community that we love. And we do it all with a little twist of both the frivolous and the frugal. I am Frivolous Dawn, and I was going to say, and I am frivolous. All right, we're off to a good start. And I am fourth of 8 in our family's birth order.
And I am Penny, Frugal Miss Penny, and I am the oldest of the 8 in our birth order. We just want to give a shout of hearty welcome to our returning viewers. It just tickles us that you join us with every episode and for your lively participation in our Ravelry and YouTube threads. And for those of you who are first-time viewers, we're so glad you made time in your viewing schedule to check out Frivolous and Frugal. We're hoping that you glean a nugget or two from our fiber journeys and our musings as we literally talk about the journey as we're taking it. So without further ado, would you please grab your knitting, your favorite note-taking device, and a sense of humor. Don't forget that whatever you do, and join us for episode 48 of Frivolous and Frugal. Take it away, Dawn.
Well, Miss Penny, what is that splash of color I see around your neck?
Is this not hideously bright? I call it my Highlight Me wrap. It's really the Elevation wrap by Aspen Knits. It is knit out of 2 different fibers. This very dark navy, I know it's probably looking black to most viewers, but it's a very, very deep navy, which I like, is a yarn, 100% wool, a bit scratchy. So it's pretty rustic, and it is in fingering weight, and I can't pronounce the name, so just look in my Ravelry page for it. It was a deep dive that I purchased back in 2003, I think. And then my little minis, this is the first time I used a set of minis, are Hedgehog Fibers neon minis in sock fingering weight, and I knit this on a size US 4. It gets $3 signs for fiber on the frugalometer and $1 sign. I think, no, wait a minute. I gave it, $1 sign for the pattern. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing. What about
like
you? Thank you.
I grew a 3rd boob. I don't know what to do with this. All right, so I'm not nearly as creative as you. I am wearing a balls up ornament. I will talk more about that in the future, but yeah, I didn't wear anything because I'm having a personal summer. So I have nothing around my neck, but I will talk more about this ornament in a little bit. So what is Miss Opal wearing back there?
Well, Miss Opal is sporting the Snowflakes and Icicles scarf.
Oh, yeah.
And if it were spread out, you could see the little snowflakes up here. They're done in eyelet stitch. And then here are the icicles. And it is in the sock weight from Behind the Pines yarn. And it was one of our yarn of the month colorways. I don't even know what it was back in 2018. Pretty blue with some stellina in there. So the pattern and the yarn are perfect. That was knit on a size 4 also. I gave the fiber $4 signs on the frugalometer and the pattern $1 sign. And it is a smaller shawl, so I don't wear it because I have a hard time knowing what to do with it. So that's why Opal is sporting it this week.
I wonder if you tried a shawl cuff.
Well, let me show you. This is all the bigger it is. It would be, this is the size of the bib they're going to use on me when I get to the old folks home, because, you know, I drip all the way down to my navel. So it's really, I only have about that much. And I guess I could tie it like that and it might look okay. Maybe it's just a mental thing for me in that it's not long. I guess I'm secure in long and big and baggy. So maybe a shawl cuff might work.
Not sure, but it's exactly what I thought. That would be a bib on me. So yeah. I struggle with that size too, because I don't know what to do with it. I like the look of it, right?
I do too.
That yarn is spectacular. She did a nice job with that colorway.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so for right now, Opal is going to get it unless someone for that with the highest bid wants it.
We'll start bidding out at $1,000.
I need to meet that gentleman again at the airport who asked me if I would knit him a hand pair of socks. And while he stood there before me in his Armani suit, I had the audacity to say, I don't think you could afford me. What was I thinking?
Where is he when we need him?
Yes, ma'am. So
Cool.
what about Ruby?
Ruby, this poor shawl's been needing washed for like a year, so I finally did it. So this is Loop by Casapinka. It is a long crescent. We did it, I think, in 2018 as part of the Mystery Mania shawl I took at Magpie's Cottage. The yarn, the black and white variegated, is by Knitted Wit, and it's called Black Rock Candy. I thought that was cute. And then the pink is a Malabrigo Mechita in the Hollyhock colorway. I like it. I'll tell you, wrong yarn. That black and white is way too variegated or overpowering, so you don't get to really appreciate the pink in between.
You know, I think I would agree, Dawn.
Yeah, because these are really fun stitches in this pink that you can't see because the black and white are overpowering. Stay put, Ruby.
I am totally going to agree with you on that, Sis. Yep.
So, although I like both of them, I don't think they play the best together. But you know what? As you know, I'm a sucker for these long crescents.
Yes, you are.
So, let's see. I probably called both of them a 3 on the Frugalometer.
Okay.
And I took it as part of a class, and that was a fun class. If you signed up for all 6 of the shawls, you got a bonus class, and that was the bonus.
Oh,
so that was good. Idea. Yeah, I appreciated that. So
absolutely.
All right. How about anything off your needles?
Frogged off, yes, but not finished off. And my husband can attest to that right there. He's seen me frog this particular little Afghan. Oh no, 13 was not nearly enough tries.
I would go onto Etsy and see if anybody has one for sale. And I would just, you know what, I'm buying it. Okay, I have just a couple of tiny little things done. Here is my first double knitting pot holder. And you notice it's not square? That's amazing.
Well, the question is it supposed to be square?
It is. And I didn't pay attention to the video because I was supposed to do what's called a condensed bind off. I didn't know that till afterwards. And they said, if you don't, it will flare. So the third time I heard it, okay. And here's the weird part. This is just done with that sugar and cream, 100% cotton. This was 8 inches by 8 inches till I washed it. And so it is no longer a pot holder. It may be a large coaster. Or Miss Cindy said, how about a trivet?
Oh.
She uses hers as a trivet that she just puts down on the table if she has a hot covered dish or something she wants to put on it. Absolutely. But I love it. Look at that. Now, I'm watching Lucy Neat Bees double knitting class on Craftsy. This was a suggestion for a first project. So 2 things. A, I've got to learn gauge because, well, cotton yarn shrinks so much. You're supposed to use smaller needles than what the yarn calls for because of the movement of the stitches on your needle take up more space. That I just have to mess around with till I learn. And so my next project will be 2-color. And I can show you that in a minute. And then the last thing off my, okay, pattern, balls up. I don't know why I get the biggest bang out of saying that. Ooh. And I thought you were joking about the author, but you weren't. General Hogbuffer. And it is a free pattern on Ravelry. So this gets a 1 in the Frugalometer. There's lots of different Fair Isle patterns part of this, as well as just some simple color changes. So I'm going to switch now for the first time to a document camera. So please let me know whether this is difficult for you guys to watch. I will be right back, I promise.
She will, that's for sure. So while she's getting ready, a document protector is a device that allows her to literally look at an object in her hands. So that's what we're seeing right now, right, Dawn?
Yep, that is. So let me go to the actual balls up pattern. So you start at the bottom where you do a cast on and you join. Now next time I would try to get that hole much smaller.
Okay.
I did not pull tight enough. And then you do increases. Now this is self-patterning yarn. It's West Yorkshire spinner. I think it was called Fairy Lights. I just had some extra. And then you increase, and then for what I would call the body of the ornament, it's just straight knitting. I think you get up to 64 stitches. And then here's my problem. It is when you have to start the decreases coming up here. So I'm going to guess about right here where the red and white is about to end. That's when you insert your ornament. And now you are knitting around the ornament. I was using magic loop. I think I should have switched to 4 double points, but I did not. And you can see that my stitches are what I would call tortured. They are pulled, and it's just not a very, I don't know, look at these gaps.
Yeah,
so it wasn't,
it's not a polished look at all.
Yeah. Okay, so I have to do a little comparison. So I went and used the same yarn and I cranked one on my circular sock machine. I have an Erlbacher Gearhart Speedster hand crank circular sock machine. Here's what they look like coming off there. So again, I have a little bigger hole there, but the difference is on the first one, I cast it on 8 stitches.
Okay.
That's 64.
So how did you get it to pucker like that?
All I did is think of it in the hand knitting world as a provisional cast on.
Okay.
And then I just cinched that yarn up like you're cinching up a bag.
Got it.
So I don't know. Let's see if I can do a side by side.
I can see where the pattern from balls up is a bit more decorative, but not nearly as polished and clean as coming off your sock machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I would do it. Now, again, the sock machine does very consistent knitting, assuming it's working right, or I'm operating it right. But look at the difference in the top. Again, that's 64 stitches that are cinched. Now, I just take it off the machine, run my tapestry needle through each stitch, and then just pull.
And cinch it.
Yeah.
How nice.
So could we not do that here?
Yes, we can.
I could do these nice increases on the bottom, knit up my body, but instead of decreasing, just keep knitting. It's 64 stitches in the pattern too, so it's a great number. Just keep knitting up that number of rows.
Absolutely.
And cinch it close. So that's what I'm going to do next. So I'll have 3 to compare from. Now, the next thing I would like to do too is I'd like to start introducing maybe a Fair Isle pattern of my own. So I can work my way toward the Arne and Carlos balls. So for those of you who are interested in this, this is an 80 millimeter ornament that I picked up a tub of 24 of them at Joanne Fabrics, which is a big box store in the United States. I think you can get them at like a Michael's, a Hobby Lobby. I don't know about this time of the year since they just clearanced all of their Christmas. You may have to look at some different online options, but yeah, so 3-inch, you can buy 3-inch balls. Those are 73 millimeters. These are 80. They go even up higher than that. So, all right.
I'm gonna write that down. So the 3-inch ball is about 73 millimeters.
Yep. And for instance, I bought some at Michael's, and Michael's, they are 3-inch. They don't say 73 millimeter. I go to Joanne's, they don't give me inches, they only give me millimeters. So, and I can't remember, I have not purchased for about a year, I don't think, at Hobby Lobby. So, and then I use plastic balls. I do not want to chance glass. And then as I'm sitting there with my knitting needles, run the risk of shattering the glass and getting injured.
Right.
So,
well, and I think it's also important to add, Dawn, that you don't have to put a glass ball in there at all. You can stuff it
absolutely, you can stuff it
with polyfill, leftover wool,
yeah,
whatever your choice
leftover
is.
yarn. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
I like the round look, so that's why I decided to go with the balls. But those are the only two things off my needles. So
My goodness.
do tell me what you are working on there, dear sister.
Nothing nearly as ornamental, unless you call yarn barf ornamental. As you all know, I am trying to improve my skill of crochet. So you can see quite a bit of progress on my Rainbow Baubles Afghan.
Oh my
I
goodness.
have all the colors done, and I am now, and by the way, these are probably not nearly as bright as the lights make them look. They're a more muted color. And I have started the border roughly 5 or 6 times now, because what I've decided is it is not in the shape that we are typically used to knitting. So I think, or crocheting, most of the time we either knit in rectangles or we knit in squares. So the brain can see the symmetry of that shape. Well, this Afghan, because of the shape of the rainbow, is not immediately knit in a rectangle. You essentially have to fill in the corners. So the symmetry is not there. And I don't know if that matters to some people. For me, it kind of messes with my brain. So I will say the big lesson that I have learned from all of this, Dawn, is I had to go back to my teaching days. Remember, I frogged, I'm sure I met nearly 20 times, and that's not an exaggeration. I kept reading the pattern, reading the pattern, reading the pattern. For heaven's sakes, I was a reading teacher. I know how to read and I know how to comprehend. But this week, I was sitting there and I thought, if I was teaching a new knitter how to knit this, as a teacher, what would I have encouraged her to do? I would have gone back to the VARC system. Present it visually, present it auditorily or orally, provide it or teach it in reading and writing. And the fourth thing I would have done is teach it kinesthetically. I'll do it with you and you do it with me. For the first time in my life, literally that I can ever remember, I caught it by looking at a diagram. I have never been a visual graphics learner. I can read graphics, I can read schematics, I can do that, but it's never been my preference. My preference has always been words. Oh my goodness. That's what I needed to do. I needed to see the graphic. It matched the pattern, but for some reason, the graphic clicked. Now, that's what clicked for the body of the blanket. But I will tell you, I've gone back to the words for the border because the graphic leaves out little details similar to what you were saying about your double knitting. In crochet, I am not used to the techniques for making corners, rounding corners, knowing which stitch to go in and which stitch not to go in. So now I've had to go back to the reading and I'm wading through that. So that's what's on my crochet hook. And I'm using a crochet hook size I combination of fibers because I was trying to get the colors in the nursery to match. It's Encore and Barocco Vintage. And it gets a $2 sign for fiber because of the Barocco, and it gets a $3 sign on the Frugalometer for the pattern. That pattern is not available on Ravelry. I purchased it on Etsy.
Any video support with the pattern? Like YouTube videos to watch? Okay.
No, not that I have seen. I will tell you her pattern, and I can't show it in too much detail because it's a paid for pattern. She provides not only the words and the text, but graphics. Oh. And I think that that's very nice. I have used it. And let me just tell you, I emailed her because I was having a fit trying to get this. She was very responsive. her suggestion was that I could send a picture. I think I shared that in the last episode. I ended up not doing it because that's when I realized I needed the graphic support rather than the word support. Yeah.
Wow.
So hopefully we'll have that finished before that dinky darling arrives.
Yep, not long.
What about you? What's on your needles?
I started our pattern for our January hat knit along. We are using the slipped stripe hat by Joanne Kiley. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. And of course, Joanne's a good friend of ours. She owns Magpie's Cottage in Sheboygan Falls. And so it is a fingering weight pattern. And I am using Heritage Sock in the black colorway for the brim and the stripes. And I have no clue what this is. It is beautiful. It is bright. It is high twist. And usually I stick the thing in the middle, you know, the ball band.
Yeah.
And there's nothing in there. And I kind of went through my stash. Or my stash on Ravelry. I did not spend too much time. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but we'll just call it deep stash.
Okay.
And I like it. Now I started off, well, she says in the pattern, if like, for instance, I'm using black as my main color, I should probably not have black in my contrasting color so that you get these nice stripes. And so the first yarn I picked did not have black in it, but it was dyed in such a way that with every round I did, it was starting to pool. And I'm not a fan of pooling, so I just thought, you know what, I'll save that for another project. And I went in and grabbed this because I like the high contrast. Again, not a fan of working with black generally, but I do like the look of it. Again, it's fingering weight, so it's been a while since I've done a fingering weight hat. I would love to try it maybe again in a worsted or maybe a DK just to see what that would look like. But I don't know, it's the 23rd of January. Can I get it done by the end of the month? Not that we have to by any stretch, but those of you who are doing the knit along with us, feel free to post in our hat knit along thread, or there is a January hat knit along thread now. Did I create it because I wasn't paying attention? So that is what I'm currently working on as we speak.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I have, you know, I'm trying to be monogamous, and I do need to give kudos and honorable mention to those of you who were on our Ravelry thread giving me suggestions, liberty, and permission, including license, to be monogamous in crochet and monogamous in knitting. So thank you. I desperately missed knitting because I don't get the same neurological or, you know, affective pleasure from crochet that I do with knitting because it's still learning. So here is what I'm doing. I am starting our granddaughter's christening set. So I like Judy Lamb's book for christening sets. This is book 2. The first 2 I knit from book 1. This one I'm knitting from book 2. And look at this cute little dress.
Oh, I love it.
Me too. Now, here's my dilemma. And I tried to match because they're doing a boho color palette, which is pretty muted and antique-ish. So that's the type of yarn I chose.
Oh.
It's called antique white. And we know from color theory, it depends on the light as to how it looks. But my husband and I both agree it looks kind of gray. And I'm not sure you want a baby's christening gown in a grayish color. I put my other pinks, the muted pinks, next to it, and it warmed it up a little bit. So I went and ordered, I broke my rule. I went and ordered all brand new white. And I'm going to knit up both patterns and let my daughter-in-law decide which she likes better. Because if you put it up next to Opal's white blouse, it's gray. It's not that taupey, oatmealish. So I'm very frustrated by that because I still don't have that yarn. But I thought, you know what? I'll just knit this up and then let my daughter-in-law decide either that, or if I see a major difference, I'll just put these stitches on a stitch holder, start knitting the other one. And if I see a definite difference, then I'll frog this and have to find a way to use 15 skeins of yarn.
Well, try taking a picture on your phone too to see what the phone picks up for hues.
Well, now that's a good idea. I didn't do that.
Because sometimes, you know, just flash photography or different lighting will make it look different. So yeah,
true.
Just a suggestion.
That's a good idea. It's definitely the light. It changes color regardless of the light it's in.
Yeah.
And I was trying to match it to the same colors as the blanket. Anyway, crash and burn on this one, I think.
And the child's skin's not going to be as white as Opal.
No.
Right?
No.
I mean, that is vivid white. So if you think about some pink or tannish undertones, it may look off-white in that respect.
Give me your eyeball for just a moment.
Yep, that looks like a dirty white to me. Or so, you know, a little antique-y. Now, could I really hyper analyze and say there's a hint in gray there? Sure.
Yeah, you can.
I don't know if I would say it's obviously gray comparatively. So try it. And again, I like the idea if you don't like it. And if you have 15 skeins, you can always add that to your blanket.
15 skeins. It will be large enough to cover the roof of their house if I do that. Oh, here, darling, not only will this be the carpet for your nursery, you've got enough to cover the garage roof too. You're so funny. Okay, thanks for your opinion. I appreciate it. So anyway, what else is on your needles?
Well, I will give you an update on my Stephen West. I'm doing the winter light shawl. I found the error of my ways last week when I had 130 too many stitches. It's in a bag from Knick Knack Knits. How sweet. I am using Amanda Hope yarn in her teal gradient. So now you get to finally see the fourth color.
Let's see it, please.
It is that deep, dark teal.
Oh, yes.
So let's see, do I have a stitch marker in? Yeah. So that's where I had to rip back to. And now I've reknit and got my first honeycomb.
Woohoo!
So let me tell you these bobbles. I don't know if you can see they're kind of raised.
Yes, they are.
So here, and it's a paid for pattern, so I don't want to give away the secret sauce, but you know, you knit a bunch of rows in this dark teal, and then the pattern reads knit so many stitches, and then in the next stitch, drop down 6 rows and stick your needle through the 6th stitch. I don't know if it's 5th or 6th, whatever it is. And then knit that. So that's what's going to create this bar in between.
I like it. Yeah.
I do too. And here's the problem. So I knit my stitches, drop down, knit stitches, drop down. Well, I finally, there's video support for this shawl, so let's watch it, you know. So when you drop down 6 stitches, you don't knit that stitch. So it would have been the next stitch on my needle, right? But I'm not knitting the stitch on my needle, I'm knitting 6 stitches below. I didn't know I was supposed to slide that stitch off my needles and let that stitch run or drop, because that creates the gap on the back.
Brilliant.
And that allows the puckering of the fabric. So I did that 130 times, I guess. Yeah. So now my
on the first time around.
my stitch count is now right. It's amazing. So where I'm heading from here is all of these honeycombs. I think I have maybe 18 rows of honeycombs, and then that's it. So the shawl is going to be beautiful, smaller than normal. And of course, I keep saying I think it looks like angel wings.
It does.
As far as its shape. So it won't be the huge, typical Stephen West shawl, but I think I do end up with 500 and some stitches by the end. So I don't know if I'll get it done by next week, but I'm hoping I'm just a couple weeks off of that. I'm comfortable with the honeycombs. I understand the process. So maybe a little more relaxing knit where I don't have to stay so super focused because I'm learning something. But that bobble was something new for me. And that's why I asked you the question about video support for your pattern. Now, there's nothing in the pattern that says that he has a YouTube. So I just went out onto YouTube and typed the name of the pattern, and it was Stephen West giving the video. So, and that's on a US size 4. And I love Amanda Hope yarn. I think Penny's been including it. She is beautiful, beautiful colorways. So if you're looking for a new yarn to try, I would encourage you to give hers a try. All right. Do you have anything else on your needles?
No, because I'm being monogamous.
Yeah, boring, boring.
I'm not going to argue with that, okay? But the girl's got to achieve one of her goals. That's all I'm saying. If I can just do one. Oh, for heaven's sake.
I was going to double dog dare you, but I better not. So I will tell you, here is my 2-color. So I decided, because my hot pot holder was so small, I dropped down a needle size, so I'm on a 7 now, but I also cast on another dozen stitches. So I'm just making this pattern up as far as the pot holder, but you can see it's white on one side.
Yes.
The same denim blue on the other. And now it is the yarn manipulation. So moving yarns back and forth, making sure you're on the right side of the fabric. I love it. She calls the side that you see the public side. So this pot holder will have 2 public sides. Where I think, like my shawl, there's only one public side.
Oh, that is a neat phrase.
Yeah. And then I keep trying to make sure I can tear it or split it so that it truly is double knitting. So I plan to do this, finish it, and then if I'm comfortable, I think I will start my scarf. I haven't decided on the yarn for that yet, but I'm going to measure this before I wash it just to see how big it is. Once I do it, my tension is horrible. I'm trying to learn kind of like Fair Isle. Do I want a yarn in each hand? Do I want to hold both yarns in one hand and try to manipulate it? Or do I want to, what I don't want to do, but I'm doing right now, is picking up and dropping until I can get that rhythm in. And then I'm hoping with a little experience that becomes a little bit easier. But my tension is horrid.
So what don't you like about it?
What's that?
What don't you like about picking up and dropping?
It's just tedious.
Okay.
It's not very active. But if I'm going to do two-handed like I do Fair Isle, I'm going to have to learn to purl continental. And she said that is by far the most difficult thing for throwers to do. So I'm an English knitter, or I throw my yarn from the right. I'm not opposed to learning it, but I also know that's a time issue. So I'm not going to be good at it the first 100 times I try it.
Right.
So yeah, we'll see. And I see a couple of super loose stitches that I must not have pulled my yarn tight. So I guess that's the learning process. As you always say, learning is messy.
It is.
You can see, like, oh, the other way, this way. These stitches down here are very loose. So you could almost drive a car through those.
Too funny. So is that what you're learning this week, or did you learn something else?
It is. I'm learning that muscle memory takes time. She recommends in the video that you just try a couple of rows a day and set it down. If you're frustrated, set it down. Because you shouldn't be holding the needles with a death grip. And I have to chuckle, the beginning knitting classes I take, that is the funny thing. People hold their needles and I can see white knuckles. And it's like, ladies, this is supposed to be relaxing. So I'm going to start serving margaritas as part of my beginning knitting class. That should make things go better.
Of course you are. Of course you are. It's going to be included in the price of the class. Why wouldn't it be?
That and chocolate, why not? Yeah, so I just think muscle memory takes time. And I'm going to keep telling myself learning is messy, and I want to do both. So, and you know what? It's a pot holder. Who is going to A, ever see it, and B, unless it's a fellow knitter, is going to comment that, hey, I see some loose stitches, you know. And if you're looking that close, drink another margarita. So, and
Oh
so
my goodness.
I'm still working on my row by row sampler socks. I just turned the heel. So hopefully maybe next week those will be done and I can show them to you blocked. And then tenacity continues very slowly. So the next time we have our niece Brianna on with us, we can do a tenacity comparison. I'm enjoying that. I'm trying to do 4 rows a day. And so with that being done, I should be done sometime late 2023. So
Hence the name tenacity.
Absolutely. So what are you learning?
Well, actually, without knowing, ours really kind of parallels. I am learning that space equals space. Now, that does not sound really profound, but in a way it is. I have learned that space of time away from a project gives you space to problem solve.
Yep.
So oftentimes I find myself trying to problem solve in a rush, not giving myself time to think my way through it. And I just need that space. Set it down, just like Miss Lucy was saying. Set it down, percolate, think about the things that you've been learning or where your struggle is. Try to reflect on what you've learned in the past and just give yourself time to objectively look at the challenge. I'm relearning that. And I think it's probably a lesson that I'll have to relearn several times throughout my life. And so that's what I've been learning, especially with this Rainbow Baubles blanket. Yeah.
Very good. Anything new happening at the old Frivolous and Frugal?
Well, as a matter of fact, there is. We have another giveaway. Yay! It comes from our Finish Fixer Frog at Cal. And so last night during Knitting with the Aunties, we randomly selected our winner, who this week is Nancy McKnitter. Congratulations, Miss Nancy. You uploaded pictures from Scrappy Socks and Fair Isle Socks, and we're so thankful that you are part of that thread, and we're thankful for all of you who are posting your pictures, because like Dawn said, we could get lost in just making lists of all the projects we want to do based on how beautiful yours are. So thank you for sharing those with us and the creative ways you're repurposing some of the yarn that you frogged, or how you are creatively fixing projects. So thank you, keep that up. Miss Nancy, would you please send your address to Dawn? You can email her or personal messenger her, and she'll send that gift out to you. So thanks so much. Our next giveaway will come from YouTube, and it'll be during episode 50 that we'll draw the winner, and we'll have a question that we'll ask you to respond to. So in a couple more episodes, we'll have another giveaway. And we can't go much farther in this episode without honorable mentions. And we just have to pause and thank you, our viewers. Dawn and I often reflect, and even Nikki has commented on how willing and resourceful we are as a community. We help one another work through challenges. We help one another with fixes. We help one another inspire choices of yarn versus pattern and color. And we just encourage each other. And we wouldn't want to do this, nor would we do it if it was any different. So thank you so much for being part of that community. And as always, I don't even think these ladies know it. So maybe this is a surprise for them. Our dear, dear friends at 3-Ply Podcast, Miss Irene, Miss Joyce, and Miss Angie, have no idea how you have encouraged us, how you have instructed us by example, how you've been our cheerleaders in our venture for this podcast, as well as in our adventures for knitting. So ladies, we really owe quite a bit to you for just being a part of the community that has allowed us to do what we've done. And you know that we love you, and we're so thankful you love us too. But I just would like to encourage our viewers to go and view the 3-Ply Podcast. It is a delightful hour of beautiful knitting, Beautiful projects. And all three ladies just knit up a storm. Always get tips. You get ideas for other knit-alongs, patterns, resources. It's well worth not only the hour of viewing, but it's well worth you subscribing to their podcast. So if you've not done that this week, we would encourage you to do that. And in the back of your mind, just kind of thank them for us because of what they've added to our Frivolous and Frugal podcast.
I was watching their last episode and I'd have to pause, go to Ravelry, type the pattern in, put it in my favorites, and then turn the video back on. Very similar aesthetics to what I like. And again, I love it that I can see somebody who's knitting it. I get to know the yarn they're using. Yeah, I am very inspired and knit very similar to them. In fact, I copycat quite a bit. So
you're their protege and they don't even know it. There you go. You're learning their ways, obviously.
Yeah.
That's cool. Next episode, in episode 49, we will have an update on our first daytime virtual knit together. We look forward to sharing that with you. But if you weren't able to join us for that, don't be upset. We have 2 more upcoming knit nights, virtual knit togethers. So our February virtual knit night is going to be on Saturday, February 13th from 7 to 9 Central Standard Time. This is 2 hours of saturated talk about knitting. We don't get off the topic. We don't want to get off the topic. We want to stay on it because as a community, this is how we teach and encourage one another. So we invite you to join us. We usually open the link about an hour before in case someone's having technical difficulties, but that link and information will be posted on Ravelry. If you are not on Ravelry, just email me at my email address below in the notes and I will add you to the email list and I'll email that to you. Now, if evening is not suitable for your schedule, we have already scheduled our second pilot daytime knit along for February, and that is going to be on February, let me make sure I give you the correct date, February 27th. From 10 to 12, which is 10 in the morning till noon Central Standard Time. Likewise, same format. We always start by inviting you to share what's on or off your needles. And our overarching rule is
choose your own level of participation.
Absolutely. Thank you. I know you were probably counting. Sorry about that. My timing is pitiful. But that's exactly right. No pressure to join in or hop in. And we are going to implement a couple of strategies to help us navigate Zoom participation a little bit easier. So we'll review those at the beginning of every knit time. So please feel free to join us. We look forward to meeting you face to face, hearing and seeing what you're doing, and making you an even more real part of the knitting community. Apart from that, Dawn, I don't think there's anything else on the Frivolous and Frugal agenda.
Very
other
good.
Than what our dear sister Nikki would say.
And what would our dear sister Nikki say to us today?
And for those of you who happened not to read the introduction, Nikki is the sister between Dawn and I who does absolutely no knitting, but has taken part in our adventure, our hobby. And she has joined us, and she often is our encourager and cheerleader, and she is definitely our statistician. So she loves golf as much as we enjoy knitting. This week, this is what she would say to us. When tough times occur, or could I say parenthetically, when learning gets messy, take a step back, take a deep breath. Remember, you're doing what makes you happy and what gives you peace.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's getting quite profound.
She is in her ripe old age. All right. Not really.
And you know what? She would also tell us to remind everybody to use the thumbs up down below if you are willing to do that, and then to subscribe, and then you'll be notified when our new episodes come out. We're pretty consistent. I try to release them Saturday evenings at 6 p.m. Central Standard, but in case we do anything different, you could be notified. So we haven't said that for a few weeks.
Months, maybe.
So, yeah,
you're right. Well, anyway, it's that time. We have taken up enough of your viewing time, but we're so glad we got to meet with you this week. So until we see one another again, we're hoping that you may have a time that's a sweet twist of the frivolous and frugal. Thanks so much for joining us for episode 48. We look forward to seeing you in episode 49.
Absolutely. Bye.